The Ethical Dilemma, Social Media in the Workplace, presented by Hector Galicia for MBAA 609. Before we delve into the ethical dilemma of social media in the workplace, we first need to understand what is ethics. Ethics is also known as a moral philosophy. It involves systematizing, defending, and recommending concepts of right and wrong conduct. The Markula Center for Applied Ethics at Santa Clara University answered the question of what is ethics by stating ethics refers to standards of behavior that tell us how human beings ought to act in the many situations in which they find themselves. The Markula Center for Applied Ethics goes on to state that ethics is not the same as how a person feels. Ethics is not the same as religion, nor does ethics mean following the law. And finally, ethics is not a science. So on the other side, what is social media? Social media is the use of websites, internet applications to connect people and allow people to share content, stories, build profiles, upload pictures in virtual communities. People can access social media websites or these applications through their computers, tablets, mobile devices, and connect to the virtual global community instantly. Now, social media comes in many different forms, and on this infographic, a few of the many forms are displayed. A few of them are blogs, such as Blogger, wikis, such as TWiki, picture sharing sites, such as Flickr or SmugMug, video sharing sites, such as YouTube, micromedia, such as Twitter, and all popular social networks, such as Facebook and MySpace. Now, at a global level, as you can see from this infographic, Facebook has a firm hold on market share. Over 70% of social networkers have a Facebook account. Google is closing the gap there. And there's also a few Chinese companies that are beginning to have more of an impact in the social network realm. Mainly Sina Weibo, which is a Chinese microblogger site. It's really a hybrid of Facebook and Twitter. And Qzone, which is a social networking site that allows users to create blogs, write diaries, and share music. Listed below are some social media statistics for 2012. For Facebook, Barack Obama's victory post, or Facebook post, was the most liked photo on Facebook with over 4 million likes. Interestingly, 25% of users on Facebook don't bother with any sort of privacy control. When it comes to Twitter, the average Twitter user has tweeted over 307 times. In terms of Instagram, there are 575 likes and 81 comments by an Instagram user every second. And finally, when it comes to Google+, the Google+ button is used 5 billion times per day. Now that we have seen the popularity and penetration of social media that social media has in people's lives, how does this affect the workplace? A recent study conducted by Ipsos Public Affairs and Microsoft examined social media tools in the workplace. They surveyed 9,902 information workers in over 32 countries. According to the study, 46% of workers in between the ages of 35 and 44 believe that their productivity greatly or somewhat increased because of social network tools. Further, 35% of workers underestimate the benefits of social network tools in the workplace. So if employees believe that they can be more productive in the workplace, why do so many organizations ban the use of social media? According to the same study, workers believe that the top two reasons for these restrictions, particularly on social media, were because of security concerns, productivity loss. Some other reasons were human resource concerns, concerns about company image, and data loss. Restrictions on social media in the workplace puts workers in an ethical dilemma. On one hand, their organization has placed restrictions either on their computers or put in a policy in place that would restrict social media access. However, according to the same study conducted by Ipsos Public Affairs and Microsoft, 28% of information workers know coworkers who have ignored the IT's policy and install social tools on their work computers or work phones against company policy. So why do companies restrict or prohibit social media in the workplace? Consider the case of HMV, a British entertainment retailer. When the company laid off over 200 workers, they left a community manager in charge of the company Twitter account. Followers of HMV tweets began to receive tweets such as mass execution of loyal employees who love the brand, and we're tweeting live from HR where we're all being fired. Exciting. Over the course of 20 minutes, HMV's followers leapt from 61,500 to 73,350. If the HMV community manager had been in the United States, she would have been judged by a clear set of standards established by the National Labor Relations Board. According to the NLRB, it is legal to vent about your employer, but not on the company's social network. Additionally, the intent of the post must be aimed at improving the conditions of your job. Additionally, consider the situation of a waitress at Famous Dean's barbecue restaurant in North Dakota. She posted the picture that you can see on this screen, which set off an online firestorm, and the picture displayed herself implying that Native Americans are bad tippers. Furthermore, the post came on the same weekend when the city had held a United Tribes International powwow. The waitress posted a picture of herself wearing Famous Dave's t-shirt and standing in the restaurant kitchen, holding a cardboard sign that said, "Spare change? Help, I'm a server at Famous Dave's on powwow weekend. Anything helps. 5 cents, 25 cents, it's more than any tips." So when it comes to ethics in the workplace, the Ethics Resource Center, or ERC, is the oldest nonprofit organization in the United States and is dedicated to provide independent research and advancement on high ethical standards and practices in public and private institutions. Beginning in 1994, the ERC produced the National Business Ethics Study to gather data on employees of ethics in the workplace. The latest report examines a possible connection between ethics and social media. Dr. Harned, president of ERC, says social networking has become a very important part of our culture, and we were wondering if the technology is influencing employees' views about ethics in the workplace. A major find of the study indicated that active social networkers showed a higher tolerance for activities that could be considered unethical. For example, 42% of active social networks find it acceptable to blog or tweet negatively about their company, or colleagues, compared to only 6% of other workers. The study goes on to also indicate that 52% of active social networks find it acceptable to do a little less work to compensate for cuts in benefits or pay. Dr. Harned does mention that these findings are not an indictment about active social media networkers. She says it appears that they have a more willingness to consider things that are in the gray areas or issues that are not always clear to company policy, which are wrong. The report goes on to indicate that active social networkers are at higher risk for observing misconduct. For example, the study shows that 42% of active social networkers felt pressured to compromise standards versus 11% of other U.S. workers. And lastly, 56% of social networks have experienced retaliation after reporting observed social network misconduct. So is there a connection between ethics and social media? Jay Shepard, author of the book Firing at Will, A Manager's Guide, says that the idea that social networks are more apt to be unethical is absurd. Further, the definition of active social networks in this study was defined as someone who spends more than 30% of their workday participating in social media. This is a very high percentage of a workday and may indicate that these are poor performers in the workplace to begin with. Additionally, social media is much more visible of a time waster and can be much more critically observed. However, social media is not the only time waster in the workplace. There's various other ways of wasting time in the organization. So how do companies manage social media in the workplace. Corporate policies should incorporate social media expectations, and conducting trainings should be held to help employees be accountable for their social media policy. Although there are several concerns to balance when it comes to managing social media policy, some key points to consider when drafting a social media policy should include understanding your employees' rights to use social media under the National Labor Relations Act. Focus on restricting employee behavior that is not protected under the NLRA. Avoid drafting overbroad and ambiguous policies. Address employees that all forms of communication on company-owned property may be monitored. Include a provision that allows modifications of the policy at any time. Train employees on the policy, enforce the policy, and be prepared for discovery.